A retired couple from Ohio saved $11,000 on their dream cruise. Same ship, same week, same amenities. They simply chose a cabin without windows. Sounds insane, right? But here's the kicker. In 2025, cruise lines are quietly reducing inside cabin availability. Royal Caribbean's newest ship, only 366 inside cabins compared to over 500 on older vessels. They're disappearing. And what's hidden in reason number 1 will change how you book cruises forever. Stay until the end, because the final reveal involves a technology so advanced it's turning windowless rooms into oceanfront suites. And most travelers have no idea it exists. Let's get something straight. The cruise industry has spent decades convincing travelers that inside cabins are inferior, cramped, dark, depressing, the budget option for people who can't afford better. It's brilliant marketing, and it's mostly fiction. Inside cabins, those windowless staterooms tucked into the ship's core, remain one of the smartest choices in modern cruising. But there's a problem. Average cruise fares jumped 15% year over year in 2025. Post-pandemic demand sent prices soaring. Balcony cabins that cost $1,200 in 2019 now run $2,200 for the same week. Inside cabins? Still affordable, still strategic, still offering access to the exact same pools, restaurants, entertainment, and ports as those ocean view suites. We're counting down 15 reasons why inside cabins might be the most underrated choice in travel. Each reason more compelling than the last. And the top 5? They'll make you question why anyone pays extra for a window they barely use. But first, we need to understand what's really happening in the cruise industry, and why inside cabins are vanishing from new ships. 15. Sustainability and efficiency. Let's start with something nobody talks about. Sustainability. Inside cabins promote efficient space use on megaships. They reduce overall energy needs. Less exterior wall space means less heat transfer, less cooling required, lower fuel consumption. Lines like Cunard are highlighting inside cabins in their 2025 green initiatives, not as a budget option, as an eco-conscious choice. Think about it. A balcony cabin requires additional structural support, sliding doors that leak temperature, exterior maintenance. An inside cabin? Tucked efficiently into the ship's core where climate control is most effective. For conscious travelers who care about their environmental footprint but still want to cruise, inside cabins offer a way to reduce impact without sacrificing the experience. One environmental study found that ships with higher percentages of inside cabins use up to 8% less fuel per passenger compared to balcony-heavy vessels. 8% might sound small, but across an industry that moves 30 million passengers annually, that's massive. And here's where it gets interesting. The eco angle isn't just marketing, it's reshaping ship design. Because what's happening at number 14 involves technology that's changing everything. 14. Smart cabin tech integration. Welcome to 2025, where inside cabins have gone high-tech. Voice-controlled smart systems, adjusting lights, temperature, even requesting room service through apps. MSC and Celebrity ships now equip inside cabins with the same technology that used to be exclusive to suites. No more fumbling with thermostats, no more calling the front desk to adjust lighting. You literally tell your cabin what you want. The entertainment systems rival home theaters, massive screens, streaming services, gaming consoles available on request. Some ships offer virtual reality headsets for inside cabin guests. But here's the twist nobody expected. The technology isn't making inside cabins feel like budget rooms. It's making them feel futuristic. One couple from Texas said their inside cabin on an MSC ship felt more advanced than their balcony cabin from 3 years earlier. Voice commands, app-controlled privacy glass on the bathroom, mood lighting that adjusts based on time of day. The cruise lines figured out something clever. Technology costs less to install than square footage. So instead of making inside cabins bigger, they made them smarter. And the result? Cabins that feel premium without the premium price. But number 13 takes this innovation even further into creativity. 13. Modern and fun designs. Remember when inside cabins were beige boxes with industrial carpeting? Those days are gone. Disney's magical portholes display animated characters interacting with the ocean view. Not a real window. A high-definition screen showing the sea with Disney characters swimming past, waving at guests, creating moments of wonder. Kids absolutely lose their minds. Adults admit it's charming. Virgin Voyages installed custom bunk beds in some inside cabins. Not the prison-style bunks you're imagining. Sleek modern designs with individual reading lights, USB ports, privacy curtains. They feel like luxury pods. The design philosophy shifted. Instead of trying to make inside cabins look like they have windows, designers leaned into what makes them unique, cozy, intimate, personal. Norwegian's studio cabins, built specifically for solo travelers, feature mood lighting, contemporary furniture, and bold color schemes. Purple accent walls, modern art. These aren't afterthoughts, they're destinations. One design critic wrote that the best inside cabins in 2025 have more personality than generic balcony cabins, which all blend together with the same beige curtains and blue accents. When you remove the window, designers get creative with what fills that space. Artwork, mirrors, smart screens, storage solutions that actually work. And speaking of storage, number 12 reveals why inside cabins might actually be more convenient than you think. 12. Equal access to amenities. Here's a truth that cruise lines don't advertise. Your cabin category doesn't determine your cruise experience. Your cruise ticket does. Inside cabin guests get the same pools, the same theaters, the same dining rooms, the same shows, the same ports, the same rock-climbing walls and water slides. You're not buying a lesser cruise. You're buying a different sleeping arrangement. And here's where inside cabins often have an advantage. Strategic location. Many inside cabins sit near elevators on ships like Holland America's new Statendam. That means quicker access to everything. You're not walking the length of the ship from your balcony cabin at the far end. Midship inside cabins put you at the center of the action, equidistant from bow and stern activities, minutes from the main dining room, close to the theater. One frequent cruiser calculated she spent 45 minutes less per day walking from her inside cabin compared to her previous balcony cabin at the ship's aft. Over a 7-day cruise, that's over 5 hours saved. 5 hours she spent enjoying the ship instead of hiking through corridors. The amenities are identical. The access is often better. The price? Dramatically lower. But number 11 is where inside cabins really shine for a specific type of traveler. Stop for a second. Think about your last vacation. How much time did you actually spend in your hotel room during the day? If you're honest, probably not much. Maybe to change clothes. Maybe a quick nap. So why are we paying thousands extra for space and views we barely use? Keep that question in mind, because the next reasons are about to get very interesting. 11. Solo traveler. Perks. Solo travel is exploding. In 2025, solo cruise bookings jumped 25% year over year. People are done waiting for travel partners. They're going alone. But here's the nightmare. Most cruise lines charge solo travelers double occupancy rates. You pay for 2 people even though you're traveling alone. A $1,500 cabin becomes $3,000 for a single traveler. Unless you book an inside cabin designed for solos. Norwegian Cruise Line pioneered studio cabins. Tiny inside staterooms around 100 square feet specifically for solo travelers. No single supplement. You pay the advertised rate. Period. But it gets better. Studio cabin guests get access to an exclusive lounge, a private space where solo travelers can mingle, share stories, make friends. It's like a built-in social network. One woman in her 60s said the studio lounge was where she met her entire friend group for the cruise. By day 3, they were exploring ports together, dining together, completely eliminating the awkwardness of traveling alone. The cabins themselves are compact but efficient. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Modern design, smart storage, entertainment systems, and that crucial perk of no single supplement. For solo travelers, inside studios aren't a compromise. They're a revolution. Access to cruising without the financial penalty. And the trend is spreading. More cruise lines are adding solo-specific inside cabins to new ships, recognizing that not everyone travels in pairs. But here's what really matters. Whether you're solo or not, number 10 reveals why inside cabins might actually help you sleep better than any other cabin type. 10. Light Sleeper's Haven. Imagine trying to sleep while the sun rises at 4:30 in the morning. Welcome to Northern Europe's summer cruises. Those balcony cabins with floor-to-ceiling windows. Nightmare fuel for light sleepers. Even with blackout curtains, light creeps through gaps. The moon reflects off the ocean directly into your cabin. Ship lighting in hallways glows under your door. Inside cabins eliminate all of it. Pitch black. Complete darkness. The kind of sleep environment that sleep specialists recommend for optimal rest. The enhanced darkness combines with consistent air conditioning, often cooler than outer cabins, creating perfect sleeping conditions. Recent reviews consistently note inside cabins as ideal for light sleepers who are disturbed by any light source. One couple from Australia said their inside cabin on a Baltic cruise was the first time in years they'd slept past 6 in the morning. No dawn light creeping in, no neighbors' balcony lights, just darkness and the gentle hum of climate control. But it's not just about blocking light, it's about sound too. Inside cabins, positioned away from exterior walls, don't pick up wind noise. No waves crashing, no deck chairs scraping above you at dawn when the crew sets up. The isolation creates a sensory deprivation chamber in the best possible way. When you sleep, you actually sleep. And for travelers dealing with jet lag or adjusting to new time zones, that darkness becomes medicinal. Your body doesn't get confused by external light cues. It rests when you tell it to rest. Number 9 builds on this tranquility in unexpected ways. 9. Quieter and more private. Privacy on cruise ships is tricky. Balcony cabins mean neighbors can hear your conversations through thin walls. They can see you on your balcony. You can see them. There's this awkward dance of pretending you're not 10 feet apart, separated by a divider. Inside cabins eliminate that entirely. No balcony means no neighbor interactions, no overhearing arguments or phone calls, no feeling watched when you step outside. The corridors and inside cabin sections tend to be quieter too. Less foot traffic from people going to and from balconies. Fewer doors slamming because balcony doors are heavy and loud. Guests in inside cabins consistently report better rest, not just because of darkness, but because of reduced noise pollution. One family said their inside cabin felt like a private retreat. No one walking past their balcony. No crew members cleaning neighboring outdoor spaces at dawn. Just their contained, quiet space. And here's something nobody talks about. The psychological privacy. Knowing that your space is truly yours. That nobody can inadvertently see in, hear in, or disturb you from outside creates a different kind of relaxation. For introverts or travelers who value genuine downtime, inside cabins offer sanctuary. A place to recharge away from the constant social energy of a cruise ship. But number 8 reveals an innovation so wild, it's turning the entire concept of inside cabins upside down. 8. Innovative virtual views. This is where cruise lines got creative. If guests want views but can't afford balconies, what if we gave them virtual views? Royal Caribbean's virtual balconies sound like science fiction. Floor-to-ceiling LED screens displaying real-time ocean feeds from cameras mounted on the ship's exterior. Not a recording, live footage. The screens stream continuously. Sunrise, sunset, dolphins jumping, waves rolling, port arrivals. Everything a real balcony would show, transmitted to your inside cabin wall. But they went further. The audio. Speakers play ocean sounds, waves, seagulls, wind. The multisensory experience tricks your brain into feeling like you're outside. Guests on quantum-class ships report the virtual balconies feeling surprisingly real. Not as good as actual balconies, obviously, but far better than blank walls. One reviewer said the virtual balcony made their 6-year-old daughter think they had an actual window. She'd sit and watch for dolphins, completely immersed. The technology is improving every year. Higher resolution screens, better audio. Some ships are experimenting with smell generators to add ocean scent. It sounds absurd until you experience it. Then it's genuinely impressive. And here's the business angle. Virtual balconies let cruise lines offer view-like experiences without the structural costs of actual balconies. They can sell more inside cabins at slightly higher prices while keeping them below ocean view rates. It's clever. It works. And it's changing how people think about windowless rooms. But we're about to hit the top 7. And this is where inside cabins go from good choice to genuinely brilliant strategy. 7. Adequate space for most needs. Inside cabins average 150 to 200 square feet. Sounds tiny, until you realize you're not living there, you're sleeping there. The space includes a bed, bathroom, closet, and usually a small seating area. Everything you need for a cruise experience that happens mostly outside the cabin. And cruise lines have mastered efficient storage. Underbed drawers, overdoor hooks, bathroom organizers, collapsible luggage racks, every inch optimized. Disney's family inside cabins include bath-and-a-half setups, a full bathroom plus a half bath. For a family of 4, that's huge. No morning bathroom traffic jams. The beds are actual beds, not uncomfortable pullouts. The showers work, the climate control functions, the basics are solid. One couple said they've cruised in inside cabins for 15 years. Never once felt cramped because they're never in the cabin except to sleep and change. Compare that to a balcony cabin where you might sit on your balcony once or twice. Otherwise, that expensive outdoor space sits empty while you're exploring the ship. The adequacy of space depends entirely on expectations. If you're looking for a floating hotel room to hang out in all day, an inside cabin isn't ideal. But if you're looking for a comfortable base between adventures, it's perfect. And speaking of adventures, number 6 is all about what happens when you're not distracted by your cabin. 6. Minimal time spent indoors. Port-intensive itineraries. Mediterranean cruises stopping in 4 cities in 5 days. Caribbean cruises with daily excursions. Alaska cruises with non-stop glacier viewing. If your cruise is about destinations, you won't miss a window. Inside cabins suit travelers who view the ship as transportation between experiences, not as the experience itself. The cabin becomes a place to crash between port days, not a hangout spot. One traveler calculated that during a 7-day Mediterranean cruise, she spent fewer than 8 hours awake in her cabin total. Sleep, morning shower, evening change for dinner. That's it. Everything else happened on deck, at ports, in restaurants, at shows. The cabin was functional. Nothing more needed. For those 8 hours spread across a week, did she need a balcony? Did she need an ocean view? The honest answer is no. The inside cabin saved her $1,200. She spent that money on a cooking class in Tuscany and a gondola ride in Venice. Experiences she'll remember forever. The balcony would have been nice. The cooking class changed her life. It's about priority. If ports matter more than cabin amenities, inside cabins free up budget for what actually matters to your travel style. And number 5 reveals why inside cabins might literally keep you safer and more comfortable at sea. Quick question for everyone watching. What's the most you've ever spent on a hotel room you barely used? Or what's the smartest money-saving travel hack you've discovered? Drop your stories in the comments. These real experiences help other travelers make better decisions. Now let's get to the top 5 reasons, because these aren't just good. They're game changers. 5. No balcony overboard fears. Let's talk about something nobody wants to admit. Balcony anxiety. For travelers with aquaphobia, fear of heights, or even just intrusive thoughts about falling, balconies are stress machines. That railing between you and the ocean, the drop, the what-ifs. Parents with young children experience this tenfold. Constant vigilance, making sure kids don't climb, don't lean, don't play near the edge. Inside cabins eliminate all of it. The enclosed design removes balcony risks entirely. No wondering if the railing is high enough. No worrying about accidents. Just solid walls providing complete peace of mind. One mother said booking an inside cabin for their family cruise was the first time in years she'd relaxed on vacation. No balcony meant no hypervigilance. She could actually enjoy the trip instead of playing security guard. The statistics on overboard incidents are extremely rare, but the fear is real for many travelers, and that fear impacts vacation enjoyment. Inside cabins offer psychological relief. Knowing that the risk is architecturally impossible allows some travelers to fully relax in ways they couldn't in balcony cabins. It's not weakness. It's knowing yourself and choosing accommodations that support your peace of mind. And that peace of mind extends to number 4 in a completely different way. 4. Encourages ship exploration. Without a distracting view or extra space, inside cabin guests tend to explore more. There's no temptation to sit on a balcony with a book for hours. No private outdoor space pulling you away from ship activities. You're motivated to get out, explore, participate. This matters especially on activity-packed ships. Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas features rock climbing, surfing simulators, water slides, ice skating, multiple pools, escape rooms, endless options. Guests in balcony cabins sometimes fall into the trap of balcony time, missing out on activities because their private space feels too comfortable to leave. Inside cabin guests hit the decks early. They try everything. They're at the shows, the classes, the games. Their cabin offers no competing attraction, so the ship becomes their entertainment. One family said their teenage kids, who they expected to hide in the cabin all cruise, were constantly out trying new activities. Rock climbing, karaoke, teen club events. The lack of cabin space forced them into experiences they'd have avoided otherwise. The result? More memories, more stories, more actual cruising instead of cabin sitting. For thrill seekers and active travelers, inside cabins are secretly the optimal choice. They remove the excuse to stay in. They push you into the adventure. And speaking of pushing you out, number 3 addresses a challenge some travelers face but won't admit. 3. Reduced seasickness. Here's something most people don't know. Cabin location dramatically affects seasickness. Inside cabins, typically located near the ship's center, experience significantly less motion. The midship position sits close to the ship's equilibrium point, the pivot around which the vessel rocks. Physics in action. The further from center, the more exaggerated the movement. Bow and stern cabins, especially on higher decks, swing the most during rough seas. Inside cabins stay relatively stable. Guests sensitive to motion report up to 30% less motion perception in midship inside cabins on lines like Carnival. One traveler prone to seasickness said inside cabins saved her cruise experience. Previous trips in aft balcony cabins left her miserable during rough weather. Her inside cabin during a transatlantic crossing. Barely noticed the waves. The lack of visual cues helps too. No window means no watching the horizon tilt, no seeing waves crash. For seasickness, visual stability matters as much as physical stability. Inside cabins create a cocoon effect. Stable position plus no visual motion cues equals significantly reduced nausea for sensitive travelers. This isn't placebo, it's naval architecture. And for travelers who love cruising but struggle with motion, inside cabins aren't just cheaper. They're medicinal. But we're down to the top 2 reasons, and number 2 is about something surprisingly important that nobody talks about. 2. Superior sleep quality. We touched on this earlier with light sleepers, but it goes deeper. The pitch-black environment inside cabins provide isn't just dark, it's scientifically optimal for human sleep. Circadian rhythms depend on darkness. Melatonin production requires it. Even small amounts of light from hallways or moon reflections disrupt sleep architecture. The deep REM stages where actual rest happens get interrupted. Inside cabins block everything: sunlight, moonlight, hallway lights. The darkness is absolute. This matters especially on cruises with extended daylight. Alaska summer sailings where the sun sets at 11 p.m. and rises at 4:30 a.m. Baltic cruises with similar light pollution. Balcony cabin guests report sleep disruption. Inside cabin guests report the best sleep they've had in years. One sleep-deprived executive said his inside cabin on an Alaska cruise gave him the first 8 uninterrupted hours he'd experienced in months. Complete darkness, consistent temperature, white noise from climate control, perfect conditions. The economic angle hits hard too. Poor sleep ruins vacations. Tired travelers are irritable, miss activities, don't enjoy experiences. They spend thousands on a cruise they're too exhausted to appreciate. Inside cabins optimize sleep, which optimizes the entire cruise experience. Better rest equals better vacation. Better vacation equals better memories. You're not just saving money, you're potentially having a more enjoyable trip because you're actually rested enough to enjoy it. And that brings us to the number one reason, the one that changes everything. The reason cruise lines are reducing inside cabin availability even though demand is rising. 1. Significant cost savings. Here it is, the undeniable truth. Inside cabins are 20 to 50% cheaper than ocean view or balcony options. Not a small discount. Life-changing savings for many families. That Ohio couple from the opening? Their inside cabin cost $4,000. The identical cruise in a balcony cabin would have cost $15,000. $11,000 difference. Same ship, same week, same destinations, same food, same shows. They used those savings to book 3 more cruises over the next 2 years. Instead of 1 balcony cruise, they got 4 inside cabin cruises. 4 vacations for the price of 1 upgrade. In 2025's economy, where average cruise fares jumped 15% post-pandemic, inside cabins remain the access point for budget-conscious travelers. Families who couldn't otherwise afford cruising can book inside cabins and still experience everything. The math is brutal when you break it down. A balcony cabin at $2,200 versus an inside cabin at $1,200. That $1,000 difference per person becomes $4,000 for a family of 4. $4,000 funds shore excursions, specialty dining, spa treatments, onboard photos, tips, drinks packages, all the extras that turn a cruise from good to extraordinary, or that $4,000 sits in savings. Funds the next vacation, pays down debt, matters in real life beyond the cruise. And here's what cruise lines know, but won't say. Inside cabin guests spend more on board. Because they didn't blow their budget on the cabin, they have money for activities, drinks, shopping, gambling. The cruise line makes more profit from an inside cabin guest who spends freely than a balcony guest who's financially tapped out. That's why the best inside cabins book fast. That's why cruise lines are reducing availability. They realize inside cabins were underpriced. They're trying to shift inventory toward higher cabin categories. But for smart travelers who understand value, inside cabins represent the sweet spot. Maximum cruise experience, minimum cabin cost. The cabin is where you sleep. The cruise is where you live. Spending premium dollars on a bed you use 8 hours a day while ignoring the 24/7 floating resort makes no financial sense, unless ego matters more than experience, unless you need to tell people you had a balcony, unless the Instagram photo of your cabin matters more than the memories you create. For most travelers, the honest answer is clear. Inside cabins are the smartest choice in modern cruising. Remember that shocking reveal promised at the beginning? Here it is. The technology in virtual balconies is about to go holographic. Royal Caribbean is testing three-dimensional holographic ocean views in inside cabins on ships launching in 2026. Not flat screens, actual depth. Windows that don't exist, showing oceans you can almost touch. The technology uses advanced projection systems, creating the illusion of looking through glass at a real ocean. With motion tracking that adjusts the view based on where you're standing in the cabin. It sounds like science fiction. But the beta tests are happening now. Early reviews describe it as genuinely disorienting in the best way, forgetting momentarily that the window isn't real. Within 5 years, inside cabins with holographic views might cost the same as today's inside cabins while delivering experiences close to actual windows. The cruise industry is quietly revolutionizing the inside cabin experience. Not talking about it publicly because they don't want to cannibalize balcony sales. But the technology is coming, and when it arrives, the value proposition of inside cabins will become undeniable. Near-window experiences at inside cabin prices. The travelers who understand this now, who book inside cabins confidently today, are the ones who'll benefit most when the technology becomes standard. If you made it this far, you're part of the small percentage who thinks critically about travel spending. Type "smooth sailing" in the comments if you watched until the end. Let's see how many smart travelers are here. Subscribe if you want more content exposing travel industry secrets. These investigations matter because they save real people real money on experiences that create lifelong memories. Inside cabins aren't the budget option. They're the smart option, the strategic option, the option that prioritizes what actually matters on a cruise over what looks good in photos. The Ohio couple saved $11,000. What could you do with those savings? Where else could you travel? What experiences could you add? The cruise industry wants you to believe inside cabins are inferior. The math and the experiences prove otherwise. 15 reasons. 1 conclusion. Inside cabins might just be the best-kept secret in cruising. The question is, are you smart enough to book one?